Here at home, thousands of people attended the funeral yesterday evening for Jerusalem Magistrates Judge Ben-Atar, who took his own life after becoming distraught as a result of an overwhelming workload. Joining us now to discuss the tragedy is attorney Dr. Haim Katz, a longtime associate of Judge Ben-Atar. Dr. Katz, thanks so much for coming in this evening.
Thank you, Laura.
On a personal level, what can you tell us about the Rhodesian-born judge?
Well, I've met Judge Ben-Atar when he wasn't a judge. Neither of us were judges or even lawyers, I think, at that time. About 30 years ago when I came to Israel, he was a fine man, a fine judge, and the fact that he committed suicide should ring alarm bells throughout the entire system. The system here is well overloaded, and this kind of thing is a warning sign for all of us.
How does the workload here in Israel for judges compare to other Western countries?
Well, the judges here in Israel, each one of them, faces 2,500 to 2,900 cases a year. That's an impossible load. Most of the judges that I meet are intelligent, hardworking, and they're a lot of them are imbued with a sense of mission. But there's no human being can overcome a load of 2,900 cases a year. And that's what happens. Now, people have a sense of mission and have a sense of conscience, and they want to do justice, just like Judge Ben-Atar really wanted to do. They do get depressed. I have friends who judges tell me they just get depressed. They go home with loads and loads of material. They just can't manage to read it. They can't manage to deal with it. And the comparison is that we are at least double, say, of France, at least double that of the UK. Now, we're a fairly wealthy society nowadays. We're not exactly this is not the state of Israel in 1948. We can afford, and we should afford, a good system of justice, which is the bulwark for the whole of the community and the whole of society here.
Dr. Katz, apparently the judge was called in by a supervisor, told he could be fired if he doesn't manage to work up the backload that he's managed. If it's so bad and it's so hard to do, why not just quit and go back to private practice like a lot of lawyers do?
Theoretically, one can do that. In fact, a recently appointed judge did, in fact, resign his post. Exactly for that reason. He said, I cannot do justice if I have to speed read a bunch of files. Judge Ben-Atar was very committed. It was very much as part of his identity, the fact that he was a judge. And he was he wasn't just a fine man, he was empathic. I had the privilege of appearing before him. He treated the litigants in such a polite and friendly a manner. And that's the kind of judge we need. And he couldn't hold the load. The reality is, the cure is not to resign. The cure is to double the amount of judges. That's the cure.
Obviously, listening to you, Judge Ben-Atar was a dedicated judge, trying to do the best he could at his position and for those who come before him or who came before him. What does that say about some of the other judges, though? Are we maybe playing fast and loose with the justice system here? In other words, taking shortcuts and justice be damned.
Well, I think that's a very far-fetched view. I mean, I think judges really try and do their best to deal with matters and to adjudicate the cases correctly. I think most of the judges that I've met in Israel are high quality and they really want to do the right thing. I think but inevitably, when somebody sits down at midnight and is trying to write a decision, you have a major problem, and that problem has to be addressed. And the sooner the better. That's what I would say.
Attorney Dr. Haim Katz, thanks so much for coming in and being our guest.
Thank you, Laura.